Hello class, welcome to week report 2, week report 3, notes 3, and labs 3 video. I'm gonna be doing the whole thing in just one video because I don't think it's long enough. Um, I'm already in my virtual machine over here. Just gonna go full screen real quick. Okie dokie. Let me sign in. Okay, so let's open the website. So I'm just gonna open Firefox real quick. And we're gonna start with week report number 3. For this week, these are the tasks that you need to complete. Only 4. So you're gonna complete the practice 3 to 10 from the presentation. You're gonna take a screenshot of the last command that you run, and then you're gonna put it in the work week report 3 folder. I'm gonna just show you an example in a bit. I put you a direct link to each and every one of the practice here. If you just wanna just go from here to each practice, and then you're gonna complete lab number 3. Then you're gonna do your notes 3, and then finally you're gonna do the proof of completion, meaning you're gonna do your week report number 3. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started with task number 1. By the way, like always, the description of the tasks are also over here. So the study material for this week is these 3 presentations over here. This is the documentation for Genome, the desktop environment, and this here is the what is a shell presentation, and then finally the exploring desktop environment presentation. So I'm just gonna remove this from there. So we're gonna do practice 3 all the way to practice 10. For the sake of keeping the video short, I'm only gonna do practice 3 and 4, take my screenshot and show you how it's supposed to look like. Now I need to place this in the WR3 folder. Now notice that you don't have that folder in your computer right now. So I'm gonna go and open the file manager, go to my repository, go to week reports, and see we don't have a week report 3 folder. So let's go and make it WR3. Perfect. And now we can start doing the practice. So I'm gonna go and open practice 3. And this is what I need to do for practice 3. So in a terminal, I'm gonna run these commands all the way 1 to 5. So let me just open a terminal. And the first command is echo hello class. This is gonna print a line of text to the screen. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. There you go. Let me just change some of the preferences here. I'm gonna change the font to 14. Always prefer a bit of a larger font. There you go. Now I'm gonna try the sleep command. So sleep for 3 seconds, and this is gonna pause my input for 3 seconds and then return the shell to me. And now we're gonna use the watch command, watch date, to repeat a command every 2 seconds over and over and over and over and over. So notice that the date is going to change every 2 seconds over here because every 2 seconds is running the same command. To exit from this screen, I'm just going to press Ctrl and C as in Carlos. Okay, and now let's type the history command, history, and it shows you the history of the commands that you have run so far. And finally clear to clear the screen. Okay, now because with practice number 3 we end up clearing the screen, I'm just going to repeat history one more time. That's going to show that I ran the clear command, and it's going to show that I ran all of the commands here. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this. So I'm going to press print screen, which is going to launch my screenshot application. Remember that if print screen is not configured for you, you can always launch the print screen application by looking for a screenshot. Let me just add this to the dash here by adding to dash. Right click, add to dash. Again, that is just in case you don't have the print screen key configured. I'm gonna take a window snip, so click on window and then take a screenshot. And I'm gonna name this practice 3.png. And I'm gonna change this from week report 3. Let me click on other to, there you go. So week reports, week report 3, and then open. My file is named correctly. I am in the right folder. I'm in the right folder, and I'm gonna click on save. Done. I'm gonna clear the screen so I can start fresh. Now I'm gonna do practice number 4. Practice 4 has 8 commands, and these are the commands I need to try. So I'm just gonna put this side by side, and let's give it a try. So the first command is gonna answer the question, what is the username of the currently logged in user? So if I type who am I, it tells you your username. How long has the computer been running for? Well, we can use the uptime command to see for how long our computer has been running. And then what is my computer node name or host name or just name? Well, we use host name and so on. So for the amount of memory, free minus h, and for the amount of disk space available, we will do df minus h forward slash, and then for to see the processes that are running on my computer interactively, I can do top, and this is the equivalent of using the task manager and looking at the processes tab in your Windows computer. I'm gonna press Q to exit the window. Then I'm gonna do uname minus A to get some basic information about my system. And if I wanna know how much space this folder is taking on my computer, I can do du-hd1 slash home. And I can see that the wrap directory, which is my home directory, is taking 1.1 gigabytes of available space in my disk. Now let's take a screenshot of this. Window, take a screenshot, done. We're gonna name this practice4.png and make sure you're in the right folder and save. And that's it, right? Please complete practice 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, I want you to see something here. For every practice, I gave you also the solution over there. So if you go to practice number 6, let me see. Actually, I'm just going to go straight to practice 9 so I can show you. This is practice 9. But if you click on the next slide, you can also see the solution to the practice, because the point of practice is to get you used to what we are completing here, right? So there is no point of hiding the solution on this, because we're just practicing the commands and we're just getting comfortable with running commands in our terminal. Okay. Okay, so now let's move along to complete lab number 3. So lab number 3 is right over here. And these are the instructions for lab number 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a challenge question. Now, what are the learning outcomes of lab number 3? Well, we want to get comfortable using the desktop environment. And we want to learn how to use the terminal to run very simple commands. I want you to get used to the idea of I type a command, I get the output that I want. I type other commands, I get outputs that I want, and so on. We're going to want to get comfortable with the system before we get into the file system, moving around the file system, creating users, managing the network. Before we do any of the fancy things, any of the hackery things, let's get the basics down. So that's what the lab is about. We're going to get comfortable in the desktop environment, and then we're going to get comfortable opening a terminal, running commands. And we're going to learn how to use the man command so that we can read the manual of commands so that we can get out of a bind if we ever need some help to understand a particular command. Now, before you start working in the lab, there is a little bit of a pre-work that I want you to do, and I want you to do it before you start working on the lab, so that towards the end things become easier. So open a file manager and let's create our lab 3 folder. Okay, now let's go to CIS 106, labs, new folder, lab 3. Good. Now we need to open VS Code and open the CIS 106 folder. So VS Code. Okay, file, open folder, CIS 106, select. Perfect. So I have my CIS 106 folder open. Notice that it says CIS 106 over here. And I need to go to labs, lab number 3. And then in here, I'm going to create a file called lab3.md. Let me zoom in over here so you see perfectly, lab3.md. And then in here, I want you to copy this markdown code here. This is the template that you're going to use for all the remaining labs. Question, then a screenshot. question and then a screenshot. And the reason why I gave it to you over here is because I don't include it in the other labs. I always reference this lab over here for how your markdown should look like. Because as the semester advances, there are things in the video that I don't include because you're supposed to already know them. This is one of those things. So let's put them over here and save our document. Again, this is the structure of our markdown. I am going to close VS Code because I don't need it open until what? Until I'm done to submit. So I'm just going to close it to save myself some RAM. Okay, there is a little GIF over here, or GIF. Don't care how you pronounce it. I pronounce it GIF. I am going to put it over here, and I have it for pretty much every question so that you can use it as a guide. This is using Ubuntu, but as you can see, the steps are the same because we're using the same desktop environment. Let's get started with question 1. So using the GNOME desktop environment, there is no better way to learn a desktop environment than by completing basic tasks, things that you already know how to do on your Windows or Mac system. So how does they look like in a Linux system? And that's what we're gonna do here. So the first thing is, how do I change my wallpaper, right? How do I change the wallpaper? Most people do that on their computers, right? So let's first get a wallpaper. So I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna Google dark wallpaper 1080p, 1080p. And let's click on images. Let's see what we got. What do I like from here? Ooh, I like this Debian one. Open image in a new tab. Save as Debian wallpaper. Okay, I'm gonna place this in my pictures folder, but I'm gonna make a folder here and I'm gonna call it wallpapers. And I'm gonna save. Good. Let's go back to the instructions. I downloaded the wallpaper. I made a folder in pictures and I call it wallpapers. And now I am going to change the wallpaper. So let me show you something. Let's say that I want to get to the desktop here. There are a couple of ways that we can do it. Obviously, we can double click on the top of the window. See, double click on an empty area and on maximizes the window. And now I access the wallpaper. Another way we can do it is by pressing the Windows key or the super key or the meta key, however you call it. It's literally this key here. Let me show you. Keyboard. Oh, that's the Mac key, this key, right? This is the Windows key, also called the super key or meta key. So press Windows key and then leave a press and then press letter D. Oh, that should have shown me the desktop. I guess that is disabled. We're going to enable it later, but I guess the shortcut is disabled. So let's go back here, right click on the desktop, change background. Now here we're going to click on add pictures, navigate to pictures, wallpapers, select the wallpaper you downloaded and click on open. You're going to have the picture over here available for you. The preview will render in a moment, and you have successfully changed the wallpaper of your GNOME desktop or your Debian virtual machine. Now, let's customize the dash. The dash is this here, the favorites panel, and I don't quite like the way it is right now. There are things that I want to change. We're going to remove some applications that we're going to use, and we're going to add applications that we use all the time. So, for instance, I'm going to remove help. I'm going to remove the calculator. Again, go back here. I'm going to remove the calculator. I am going to remove the software center. I am going to remove the email app. Good. I'm going to keep the text editor because we're going to use it. I'm going to put the screenshot app here. If you don't have it, just add it. And I'm going to keep Firefox here. Now, there are other applications that I'm going to use frequently. So I'm going to click on more on show apps. I'm going to search for terminal. Tilix. There you go. This is the terminal application that I use. You can also use terminal if you want. See how I do search for the app, right click, pin to dash. I'm gonna look for VS Code, right click, pin to dash. And what else do we need? So we have our screenshot tool, the terminal, VS Code, a text editor, and the file manager. And obviously the web browser. Pretty good. So we added Tilix, VS Code, and Genome Screenshot, and we've removed Help, Calculator, and Software Center. And that's it. Next, let's work with extensions. One of the things that make Genome great is the ability to extend the functionality of the desktop environment by installing extensions. You already have a program installed in your computer called Extensions Manager right here. And because of Lab 1, you already have some extensions installed in your system. Let me just put this side by side. There we go. Again, we have caffeine, which will allow us to prevent our computer from sleeping. Dash to panel, which is going to convert the panel at the top and the dash into a single bar like you have on Windows. And then we have system monitor and tiling assistant. I'm going to show you one by one. So first, let's enable caffeine. Wait for it to be enabled. Then click here on the system menu. You see my mouse, system menu. Let me make my mouse a little bigger just so that it makes it easier for you to see what I am clicking. So let's go to accessibility, pointing and clicking. I swear that this was here in accessibility. Maybe seeing, screen reader, no, cursor size, there you go. Okay, that's a little better. Yeah, that's better. Because this is better for you to see what I am clicking. So click on the system menu over here and notice that you have a button now called caffeine. And it has options, right? So you can make it so your computer doesn't sleep for 15 minutes. I like it to keep it on infinite, and I click on caffeine. This is good, again, when I don't want my computer to go to sleep. Let's enable dash to panel. So notice that the bar at the top. Boom. Everything was moved to the button, just like you have on Windows, for example, which is pretty cool if you want a more Windows-like experience. Okay, so because most of you come from Windows, we're gonna enable this over here. Personally, I also like to have dash to panel like this, so we're gonna put it here. Now we're gonna do system monitor. Now, I like system monitor because it gives me a little overview here of the amount of CPU power my computer is using, the amount of RAM that is currently using. Notice that I am at 55%. And then it shows me to network, upload, download, the amount of swap memory that is being used to, and so on. This is good to have in a virtual machine like this one because we want to be conscious of the amount of system resources we're using so that we can avoid our machine from freezing. And then finally, we're going to do tiling assistant. What does this do? Well, here's the thing. Now, I'm going to put this in the middle, and I'm going to snap this window to the right. Boom. Notice that we don't get an automatic pop-up, or we don't automatically have the next window tiled to the left, to the right, like we have on Windows. Tiling Assistant will give us that functionality. So whenever I tile something, now I get the option to tile the other application on the right. And Tiling Assistant is pretty comfortable, pretty useful, so why not having it? Okay, now we are going to install an application of our own. But before we do that, let's go to panel dash to panel configuration because I actually like to have the panel at the top, but I want to show you how you can configure this. Now, this is fully customizable. Over here, I can hide or remove the options that I have on the dash here, but I want to go to fine tune first. And in fine tune, I want to enable keep original genome shell top panel because I actually like this panel at the top. The downside is that now I have two system menus and I don't need two system menus. And now I have two notification areas and I don't need two notification areas. So we're gonna go back to position. Let's scroll down a little bit. We're going to remove the system menu from here. So notice that it goes. The date too, done. Because I want to keep this one over here. Let me turn off do not disturb because I don't like all of those pesky notifications. And that's about it. I kept the show desktop. You can play around with this however you like. I'm just going to remove this from now. The application that I want you to install, sorry, the extension that I want you to install is Flippery Applications Menu. So what I want you to do is come to Browse, Then click on search and say just search for FreePerry applications menu. If you click on it, this is gonna give us a little application window at the top where we can browse applications with our mouse. I like to have this here as a backup just in case I don't want to touch my keyboard. So let's click on install and install. Now, if I click on applications, I have a little menu where I can access all of my applications with my mouse. Okay, remove. If you don't like none of these extensions, of course, you can remove them. There is no problem with that. Moving on. Now, let's work with the file manager because a big part of a desktop environment is its file manager. So let's move this to the right so we can have the instructions over here. And let's click on files. Perfect. So over here, we have our file manager. The first thing that we're gonna do is learn how to enable and disable hidden files. In Linux, hidden files are represented by their name because they start with a period at the beginning. So to enable hidden files, we can simply click on the menu right here at the top and then click on show hidden files. Notice that there is a shortcut for this, Control H. So click on show hidden files and boom. Now you see a bunch of other files that you didn't have before or starting with a period. Now we're going to create a hidden folder called period fonts. That's where we're going to locate all the fonts that we're going to download. So over here, again, we can click on, over here, we can right click in an empty area and click on new folder. Notice that there is a shortcut to Shift Control N. So let me try the shortcut real quick. Shift Control N. And it launches the browser, the dialog for new folder. The new folder is period fonts. And it gives you a warning letting you know that this is going to be a hidden file, which is fine. Now we're going to download a nerd font from the Nerds Font website. The one that I'm going to download is called Firacode Nerd Fonts, but you can download any other font that you like. These fonts are pretty good for programming and have very good support for emojis. So I'm going to Control F and search Firacode. Right here. This is the one that I want, so I'm going to click on download. Perfect. Now we're going to open the zip file. So let's go to downloads. Let's open, I don't need this, so I'm going to delete it. And let's open this file by double clicking, and it will automatically decompress the file and put it in its own folder. So now we're going to open this folder and select all of these fonts files. We can simply press Control A to select all, Control A to select all, or you can just right click and click on select all, either or. Now these two files I don't want. So I'm going to press the control key and I'm going to leave it pressed on my keyboard and I'm going to deselect these two files. Right click, copy, and I'm going to go back to home. In home, remember that I created the period fonts folder. I'm going to go inside, I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste. I'm going to go back to downloads and I'm going to remove all of this. Notice that working and managing files in the file manager is very similar to Windows. We haven't done here anything that you are not familiar with. Sure, the appearance and the icons might look different, but creating folders, copying folders, moving folders, deleting folders and files has been identical so far. Okay, now in order to have those fonts available to our system, we need to refresh what's called as the font cache. We can do that with this command over here, or we can log out and log back in. So I prefer to just run a command, so I'm just gonna run the command on the terminal. Perfect. Now let's turn off hidden files because we don't want these files. We don't want to see these files here because we don't want to accidentally delete them. I'm going to use the shortcut for this, Control H, but remember that you can always just click on the button here and then just click on Show Hidden Files. Okay, now let's explore the text editor, which is another canonical tool of a desktop environment. I have my text editor application over here. Let me just create a new document and close this one. Now, there are a couple of things that we want to modify from this, and I'm going to show you where you can find them. And of course, you can revert them if you don't like them. Let's click on the hamburger menu, and let's click on preferences. And here are all the preferences that we're going to change, right? So this gives you a preview of the current theme. I'm going to enable a custom font, and I'm going to use the FIRA code nerd font. I like the medium, so I'm going to select the medium, and I'm going to change the size to 14 and click on select FIRA code nerd font. Okay, I just prefer how that font does ligatures better than others. Now we're going to display line numbers. Notice how the line numbers appear over here. I'm going to highlight the current line. You can enable or disable the overview map. It just opens a little map on the side over here. See, it shows you. It's good when you're working with very large text files, but we're not going to be working with nothing large here, so I'm going to leave it disabled. Check spelling, I'm going to turn it off. It's on by default, but I'm going to turn that off. And here I'm going to leave it as is. Oops, sorry. And I'm going to change the tab size to 4 spaces. Discover document settings is going to stay on because it's going to allow us to automatically detect what type of language we're writing in. And here we're going to remove restore session. Now, what restore session does is that it keeps a session of what you were doing on the text editor. I don't like that. I prefer my text editor to work like a traditional text editor, so I disable it. But if you want to keep it on, play around with it. It's your computer. You do whatever you want with it. And there you go. Now, one thing that we didn't do is play around with the themes. So there are several themes that you can use over here, and so I prefer this one. So I'm just gonna select that one over there. Now, let's type some text here. Let's create a markdown text called to-do.txt. So again, we have a new document here. We're just gonna type heading 1, to do, and then we're gonna do 1, task 1. Notice how syntax highlighting starts working right away. Task 2, task 3, and let's put some code here and say I am a block of code, done. Now let's save this file. Now to save the file, again, we can use a keyboard shortcut, Control S, and it's gonna open the pop-up for you to save. Or we can click on the hamburger menu and click on save. Either or is fine. What is the name of our file? I'm gonna call it to do, and notice that it automatically understood that I'm writing a markdown file, .md, and click on save. And that's it. So now that we know how to use the text editor, let's talk about the settings, another crucial part of a desktop environment. I'm just gonna close this. To access the settings, there are way too many ways of doing it. The quickest one will be to click on the system menu and then clicking on settings. And here we have our settings tab. This is what we use to configure Debian. So another settings application or adjacent to the settings application is the Tweaks app. So search for Tweaks, and it's right here, GNOME Tweaks. And it looks like this, and it allows us to do a little bit of tweaking to the desktop environment, and I'm going to show you in a little bit what I mean by that. So under settings, general options, appearance, apps, notification, etc. Right, so let's go to settings, general options, settings, network, Bluetooth, display, sound, appearance. Here I can select dark mode or light mode. I prefer dark mode, so I'm going to stick to dark mode. And we can create an accent color too. Let me show you the file manager real quick. See how this is blue, the color of the folders. If I change it to purple, oh, this should have changed to purple, but I guess it didn't change. I'll research that later on why it didn't change. It should change to purple. It should change the color font to the font, the color of the folders to purple. Now, here, as you did already, you can change the background. There are also options for light and dark mode that you can select over here if you want. And what else are we gonna look from here? That's about it. You can play around also with apps and notifications. For example, look at apps over here. If we click on default apps, we can change which apps by default work on a specific applications, on a specific file types too. Let's go to GNOME tweaks real quick. And I want you to notice something. Notice that the only option that I have here is close. So what I want to do here is I want to go to Windows, and I'm going to enable maximize and minimize. And now this behaves more like what you are used to in Windows. The reason why by default GNOME only has close is because GNOME is designed to use desktop environments, virtual desktops, instead of you minimizing applications. You're supposed to use it that way. But again, this is Linux. We can change the behavior however you like. Again, I encourage you to look into both of these applications over here, how you prefer. Okay, so here we look at the default apps already. We look at the notifications. We enable do not disturb already. In the explore search, so let's go here. We are under search. Now, this is how I like to have this. When I search here, I only want to search for applications and nothing else. So what I do is that I disable everything else. Search locations, don't search any of this. Just don't. Don't search settings, contacts. I don't like none of that. I only want you to search for, actually this I like because this search for applications in the software center if they are not installed, and that's it. I do that because that's how I prefer to use my system. Of course, you can leave it as is, no problem. Now, we are done with question one. For question one, I just want you to take a screenshot of your desktop showing the changes that you made. So let's press print screen and we're gonna do the whole screen and take a screenshot. We're gonna save this as q1.png and we're gonna save this in labs, lab 3, open, and then save. Now let's move along to question number 2, working with a terminal emulator. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna close this as well. And now, currently we have 2 terminals applications installed. I prefer to use Tilix. That's what we're gonna be using for the most part, and you're gonna see why in a little bit. So let's open Tilix. This might give you an error message. If it does, just click OK. That's fine. Just gonna make this a little bigger. Good. See, I like that Tilix can be split in many ways, giving me 2 terminal windows side by side. So open Tilix. If a warning appears, click OK. So look on the top left corner right over here. And here I can split my terminals in multiple ways if I want to. Use the button to split terminals in 4 panels like this. So I have 2 panels now. Click inside here, clicking here, boom. Let's create a session now. Another thing that I like from Tilix is that I can create sessions. So if I click on the plus icon here, it creates a new session and I can split these ones as well. And whenever I want to switch between different sessions, I can just click on the button here and move between them. So this keeps my workflow consistent within a single application. And that's why I like it. Explore the preferences of Tilix. So let's click on the hamburger menu here. Let's click on preferences. Okay, good. Now, a couple of things here that we're going to change. Under global here, we're going to enable a strip the first character if it's a variable declaration, and we're going to enable a strip white space. Now, this is going to make it so that if we copy commands from the web and we're pasting into the terminal, it's going to fix them up a little bit by removing white space and removing the first character if the first character is a variable declaration. Now, under appearance here, we're going to select a variant for the theme. Now, if you leave it as default, it's going to inherit the theme of your desktop environment. Because I am using the dark mode, it inherits the dark mode, right? I like dark, so I'm just gonna keep it on dark because even when I'm on light mode, I prefer my terminal dark. We can also add a background here so that it is not just black. So if we click on uh, image, we can find one of the images that we have. I remember we downloaded a wallpaper here, so I can just choose this wallpaper if I want, and it's gonna put it in the background. Now it doesn't appear yet, and I'm gonna show you later why. All right, so for now, if you want, place the wallpaper that you downloaded here, and we're gonna see that later in a little bit. We're going to enable Y handle splitters too, because I don't know if you noticed, but this line here is barely visible. So if you click on use Y handle splitters, it makes it much bigger and it's easier to move around. Now let's go to the default profile. In default profile, we're going to enable the custom font that we want. So I'm going to click on monospace regular and I'm going to search for Fira Code Nerd Font. You can use any variant that you like. Now, I don't like font size 12 because all my screens are larger than a 15-inch, so I prefer to do 14. I prefer this font size. Okay, what else are we changing from here? Uh, this is installing a custom theme. I'm not going to explore this in the video, but if you want, you can just go and browse the Dracula theme and you can just read the instructions and play around with it. Again, it's your computer, customize it however you prefer. Now, we're gonna go to color, and here, notice the transparency window. I'm just gonna move this to the side. See how the wallpaper starts becoming now the actual wallpaper behind the terminal. It's no longer just black, right? So you can play around with the transparency if you want. And if we go to global appearance and remove the wallpaper, we get now a transparent background, which is cool. It's, just nice. Again, if you don't want it, you can just leave it as is. I like it, so I'm gonna keep it. And that's about it. That's about it. Take a screenshot of Tilix. So we're gonna take a screenshot of this, and that's it. Print screen, window, take a screenshot. Now we're gonna save this as Q2.png, save. Now let's move along to question number 3. Try now some basic commands. And I'm gonna remove these two from here and I'm gonna keep these two open. Split the terminal in two, it's done. Open the manual page. So let's go open the man page of Echo, just like we did in class. Man, Echo. Then on this terminal over here, we're gonna type our commands. And what we are doing is the following. So we can navigate this with the scroll bar. We can use the mouse. We can use the keys here, the arrow keys. And if we want to exit, we can press Q, just like we did during class. So in step 3, the basic usage of echo is echo and then a string that we're going to print to the screen, right? These quotes are optional, but you should use them because it denotes when the string starts and when the string ends. Now, we're going to use the man page to learn how to do this. So, display a line of text without a new line. So, look at this here. Do not output a trailing new line. So the option is option N. So we're gonna do echo hello world. If I press enter here, notice that it displays the text and then it gives me the shell prompt in a new line. I want to eliminate this behavior by printing the same characters, but then putting the shell prompt right in the end. So if we repeat the command and we do -n before the string, notice that now everything appears in a single line. Display a line of text that include a horizontal tab. So let's see horizontal tab. Okay, so if -e is in effect, the following sequences are recognized. Backslash, backspace, space, form feed, new line, carriage return, horizontal tab. Okay, so I need to use -e here, right, to interpret backslashes. So let's do echo -e, good. And it says that I need to use /t to use a tab. So I'm gonna do \t hello world. And notice that now it starts with a tab. And I can add more than one if I want to. Let's put another tab here instead of a space. And boom. Next, display 2 lines of text in a single echo command. Okay, so if I need to display 2 lines, that means that I'm gonna do echo line 1, and I also need line 2 appearing on the second line. But the problem is that if I do this and I press enter, it appears on a single line. Remember the backslash here? We have one called new line, which means that if I do -e again, remember -e is the option that we had over here, and then I put \n, is gonna print line 1 in a single line and line 2 in another line. Boom. Display 2 lines of text in a single echo command with the second line starting with a tab. Okay, so I need to insert a new line and then I need to insert a tab. And boom, that's it. Now, this was useful because I have the man page over here open. So if I don't need to remember these options of commands and things like that, as long as I know how to read the man page, I can find the answers to the questions that I need. Display 2 lines of text with the first line starting with the tab. Okay, so take a screenshot if more than one screenshot is needed. I didn't need more than one screenshot, and I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. Oops, I took the wrong screenshot. There we go. And we're gonna call this q3.png. Now let's move along to question number 4. Now question number 4 is a challenge question for you. Oh, actually, no, this is not a challenge question. This is an optional question. Actually, what I'm gonna do is, yeah, I'm gonna just do it real quick for you. Remember in class that I mentioned that Linux have more than one desktop environment. Like there are a lot of desktop environments, and you can have more than one installed in your computer if you want. Now, during your installation of Debian, you did exactly that. You installed 2 desktop environments actually. So I'm just gonna close this. I'm gonna close all of that, and I'm gonna log out. I'm gonna click to try to log in. But before I do anything here, I'm gonna click on the gears icon that you see on the bottom right corner. And this allows me to change between different desktop environments. So I'm gonna click on GNOME Flashback Metacity to show you how the old version of GNOME used to look like. And there you go. This is how the old GNOME desktop used to look like. And by the way, if you want to use this instead of the newer one, you can. That's totally fine. This is just more minimalistic. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to use too. Everything is available through this button here. You have a little button for places. And you have your system menu here just like you had before. You know, this is very lightweight. That's the benefit of this one, but it's not very pretty. Because, you know, it's a little bit older. So it is what it is. So I'm just gonna log out, and I'm gonna go back to GNOME 40. So click on your user, type your password, then click on the gears icon, and then switch back to GNOME. Okay, so now let's open Firefox one more time. Wow, I am at 100% CPU utilization already. That's crazy. There we go. And we're gonna go straight to, let me just go here, question 4 real quick. No deliverable for question 4 because it's optional, right? So there is no screenshot. You don't need to take any screenshot or nothing. There is no deliverable for that. You do it if you want to. Challenge question. Now, for the challenge question, you're going to use the man page to find answers to the questions below. Make sure to split your terminal in 2 so that you can use the man page in one and then run commands on the other. The point of this question is to get you used to using multiple terminals and the man page at the same time. This is a skill that is going to be crucial for your final exam and for your career as either a system administrator, a Linux user. You are going to be needing to manage multiple terminal windows to find information and things like that. So this is very good that we're getting used to it right away. Now, here is the question. It's a scenario based, similar to your final exam. This is the type of question that I'll ask in your final exam. I give you a scenario, and you're going to use Linux to solve the scenario. John wants to see how much free memory he has in his system. He understands that the free command is used for this. However, he would like the output of the command to appear on a single line with human readable format. Your goal is to figure out how you can print the memory in a single line and with human readable format. So if you open Tilix, and again, we're going to split it in two, you can do man 3 here, and we can try out the command. So if I do free, notice that it shows too many lines, and this is not human readable. This number is way too big for humans to understand. So if you scroll down over here, you're going to find the options that will allow you to do human readable, and that's going to allow you single line, right? And then you're going to use the command here for that. What is the complete command that John needs to use here? When you figure it out, take a screenshot showing the man page and showing the command running. I'm going to jump all the way to an example that I have here for you so that you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to clear the screen here, and I'm going to press Q here to exit. Julius has a home lab with Tailscale. His home lab has several Linux containers, and he wants a command that will display in JSON format the IP configuration for a machine when he signs in. He knows that the command IP address show device and then the interface can be used to display the specific interface configuration, but the output is not in JSON format, and it is also hard to read. For example, so if I do IP address show, specs over here, and then interface, enter. Well, in this case, I don't have Tailscale installed in this computer, so let me just do IP here, sorry, IP ADDR, and we have, there we go. This is the name of my interface. Let me clear again, and let's do man IP, right? So if I run this command here, I get to see, well, the IP address configuration of this virtual machine. The problem with this is that this output is too ugly, and he wants output that looks like this in JSON. Now, using the man page, I'm going to look for an option that allows me to format this as JSON. So if I scroll, see family, no, no, no. Oh, J for JSON. Okay, good. So let's try J. So IP minus J. Okay, this is JSON, but this is ugly. This is even harder to read as before. I want it like this. So maybe I want this pretty. Oh, right there, pretty. So let's repeat the command with option P2. I forgot the IP command. You have to do it like this. There you go. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm going to clear the screen here. There we go. So these are the options. You can clearly see them in the man page here, and you can see the command running here, giving me the desired output. I'm going to press print screen. And this is my challenge question, which is question 5. So Q5.1. Because you're going to do 1, 2, 3 screenshots here. So 3 commands that you need to figure out. And you're going to use the man page for that. Please, please, please try to use it. Try to do the workflow that I did over here. Read the man page. Play with the command. Don't Google it. It's only going to hurt you because you're not going to have Google in your final exam. You just won't. So please try to learn the workflow that we're doing here. I'm going to quit this, and I'm going to prepare my submission now. Okay, special notes, practice the man command. These are the git commands here, table, and remember the final exam is in person. So let's open VS Code. This is my lab 3. I'm going to preview it to see what has already been filled up for me. Okay, so question 1 is already there, question 2 is already there, question 3 is already there, challenge question is not there, so you can remove this because this doesn't have a script. And q4.png, let's see if q4 is there. No. q5.1. Save. And here is my challenge question. Yeah, of course you're gonna have 3, so I'm just gonna repeat the same thing 3 times. There we go. Perfect. Let's right click and convert this to PDF. Let's make sure my PDF file looks good. Good in the neighborhood. Yeah. Yep. All my screenshots are there. Now let's push our changes to GitHub. Pull, just in case I did something on the web, git add period git commit -m finish lab 3 and then git push. Okay, we finished lab number 3. You can go to Blackboard and submit lab number 3. I will continue with the week report now. Let's go to week report. So we finished lab number 3 and now we're gonna do notes 3. So what are you going to include in notes number 3? Just gonna go back here to VS Code, notes, create a folder, notes 3, and then, oops, I created a file by mistake, delete. It's a folder that I want. And then a file, notes3.md. And we need to answer these questions here. Make a title, notes 3. Okay. And then we need definition and usage of these commands here. So we got these commands here. Each and every one of the commands. And here we put definition, usage, and an example. Right? Done. And for these commands, you can use the man page to get this information, or you can use the web tool. That is totally fine with me. I'm just gonna do a couple of them and then you can do the rest. Now, this information can also be found in the presentation, just so you know. Presentation, man page, and I allow you to use the web for this. For example, you can Google how to use the F command. Now, this Gigs for Geeks is a very good place for that because it gives you the definition and then it gives you good examples. What I recommend you is that you play around with the examples that you use. Make sure that you understand the example. If you don't understand the example, don't bother putting it in your notes because you're going to get 100 as long as the notes are properly formatted and they are good. This is for your own sake. This is for you to help you during your finals and to understand this Linux thing that we are studying here. Does that make sense? I also recommend you to install an ad blocker in Firefox. So let me just install uBlock Origin because there is no way I'm gonna be okay with all these ads. Come back when that's done. So definition clears the screen. Usage clear. And then example, how to clear the screen. How to clear the screen. Right? clear. Okay, now I'm gonna do echo. I'm gonna do the same thing. Definition, usage, and example. Displays text on the screen, usage, echo, option, and then a string to display. And example, how to display a line of text. Echo, hello. How to display 2 lines of text. Echo, hello, /n, world. And this is code formatting, so let's do code formatting here and code formatting over here. Good. And there you go. Like I said before, you can find examples of these commands in the presentation, man page, and you can also Google specific examples if you want to and put them here. I'm okay with 2 examples per command. I'm okay with 2 examples per command. You can put more than 2 if you want, but 2 examples is more than enough. Okay, there you go. Then here, you're going to answer these questions. You can find the answers to these questions in the presentation. You can find the answers to this question in the presentation. I'm just going to put random text in here just so that my document looks full. There we go. And it will be nice if we put a little spacing in between. Makes it easy to read for me. Okay, there we go. Now let's preview our file. Oops, I didn't want to export this. I want to preview it. My bad. And the preview looks good. It's properly formatted. I have proper bullet points. I am using code formatting where code formatting makes sense. Perfect. I got my PDF file already. Good. Now let's commit our changes. So git add period, git commit -m, notes done, git push. Notes are complete. So we're going back, uBlock origin, yes, yes, yes. Get uBlock origin, add to Firefox, beautiful. Okay, oops. Now that I finished my notes, we need to complete week report number 3. So to complete week report number 3, going back to VS Code, week reports, week report number 3, and remember the practices that you were supposed to complete? Well, I complete a couple extra here. So week, sorry, wr3.md. Then here, week report 3. And then for every practice, I believe that I gave you a template to use. Yeah, so heading 1, week report 3. Heading 2, completed work for week report 3. So completed work for week report 3. Add a bulleted of the following URLs. Okay, so I need a link to lab 2 and lab 3. So lab 3, notes 3. Notes 3. And you can give me the GitHub link to the Markdown file or the relative path, meaning the path to the file in the folder. And this folder here is located under week reports, right? So I need to go back one folder. So now I am at this layer here. So 2 periods / Now I am at this layer here, right? And since I am, hold on, let me do it one more time. Since I am at this layer, I can go inside labs, lab3, lab3.md. And then the same thing for nodes. So / go back again. Okay, good. Nodes, nodes3, nodes3.md. Save. Now for heading 2, practice screenshots. So again, practice screenshots, and then heading 3 for each practice. So practice, just gonna copy this, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then the image. P3, and then the image here would be practice 3. Just gonna copy this, paste it here, and all I have to do is change 3 for 4. Same thing here for 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I don't have a practice stat.png, so I'll just do it real quick. Okay, let's preview our file. And there we go. So we got the links to Node Lab 3 and Node 3. Notice that it works. And we got all of our screenshots, one after each other. Oop, P9 didn't work. I probably don't have something called practice 9. Yep, I don't have practice 9. Just want my document to look full. Okay, done. And there we go. Now make sure you save all your work. Everything needs to be saved before we push. That's why I save all the time. And let's do git add period, git commit -m week report, and then git push. And that's it. That is it. GitHub.com. Here it says exactly what you're gonna give me for the week report, just like you did the same thing you did last week for week report number 2. So labs, lab 3, markdown file. This is what you submit for lab 3. Let's go to notes, notes 3, notes 3.md. This is what you give me for notes 3. Week report 3, week report.md. This is what you give me. Remember to give me the PDF file as well in Blackboard. I don't believe that I need to show you how to submit in Blackboard because you already did that for Lab 1 and 2. If you have any questions, reach out to me via Slack. This has timestamp in the video as well, so you can go to specific areas of the video if needed. With that said, I see you in class.